Guys. Today's daf we're going to be learning is Kiddushin Daf Lamed Bet. Today's daf is dedicated by Debbie and Yossi Gvir in loving memory of their dear and wonderful friend Alvin Gordon. Alvin returned to the Neshama HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the 25th of Elul. His great wisdom, joy, ahavat ha'adam, love of Yahadut, generosity, and humor will be sorely missed by all who knew and loved him. Yehi zichro baruch. We're going to get started now. Actually, if you can remind me, I think we got to the Tana Rabbanan 3 lines at the end of the daf. Can someone just clarify that? Did we get to Ezu Humora Ezu Kibud? Is that where we ended? I meant to check before I started. We finished with the not using the name and the Matorgaman, right? Yes? Show me what's, yeah. Okay, great. Tanu Rabbanan, Ezu Humora Ezu Kibud. We now get to the question of what does it mean to fear your parents? And what does it mean to respect your parents? So we're going to see that Mora, fear, is all going to be the negatives, what you can't do. And kavod is going to be what you are supposed to do. Mora lo omed bimkomo v'lo yoshev bimkomo, so you can't stand in his place and you can't sit in his place or her place. So what does this mean, not to sit and not to stand? So sit, we know a little better. Usually their place at the table you're not supposed to sit in. If it's their seat in shul, you're not supposed to sit in. If they have a particular place, you shouldn't sit in their seat. We'll get to later what if the parents don't care. That's a whole separate thing. But the general idea is you shouldn't be in their place. Omed bimkomo is a little trickier. Some people say it means omed like where they daven, because when you daven, you stand. So where they pray, you shouldn't pray in their place. Lo soter et dvarav v'lo machri'o. You see this kind of go together, like not to sit and not to stand, and not to contradict something they say, and not to machri'o is if there's an argument between your father or mother and somebody else, not to say I side with the other person. Okay, what does it mean, lo soter et dvarav? This is fascinating, or not really what does it mean, but in what categories are you not allowed to? Is it specifically in Torah learning? You can't contradict something they say. Some people say it's the opposite. It's specifically not in Torah learning. Some people say only in Torah learning you're not allowed to contradict them. Some people say everywhere else you can't contradict them, but when it comes to Torah learning, of course you can contradict them. Didn't we just have that whole source about fighting with your father in Divrei Torah, and in the end you come to love each other? But yes, there's that idea. If it's Torah and you think they're wrong, you obviously have to contradict them because it's Torah. So then there's all sorts of other possibilities. There's a large scale of where this, where we draw the line, what you're not allowed to contradict. Later, we're going to get to, if you do need to contradict, how should you do it and how shouldn't you do it? That all goes back to what we said yesterday. And again, this all gets to the complexity of this, where if you can't contradict your parents, that also puts you in a difficult position. Sometimes you may need to, and you need to correct them about something. And it's very, very tricky. And where to draw the lines. Again, we're struggling with these issues that, again, to a certain extent, the Gemara makes things sound very simple. Okay, don't contradict their words. On the other hand, there are also things that the Gemara is going to bring up that makes it clear that they're not so simple, and there's a lot more to it, and it's a lot more complicated. And as well, the commentaries grapple with, where we draw the lines and how we understand this. So the first big issue is going to come up in a minute now in the Gemara about a very, very basic question, which is, let's go to Kibud, and then we'll see the big question that comes up. Kibud, what does it mean to respect your parents? Ma'achil u'mashkeh, you have to feed them, give them food and give them drink. Malbish u'mechaseh, give them clothing and covering. Okay, now again, this could be defined in many ways. This could mean buying them food, and we'll get to on whose bill, who pays for the bill. That's going to be the big question that's coming up. But forgetting about that, just making sure they have food on the table, making sure they have clothing, or maybe it means actually if they get to the point where they can't feed themselves, then you actually have to feed them, give them, drink, like that rabbi who was waiting on his father to give him a cup of water. He obviously could have left it before him. I'm assuming the father was having trouble drinking and he needed to help him drink it. That was the one who learned all of Mizmor L'Asaf while he was waiting for the father to wake up. So does it mean physically getting them dressed, covering them in bed, machnisu motzi, helping them get up and get in? Then, by the way, if it's really just when your parents are elderly, then what about when they're not elderly and they don't need you to put food on the table and they don't need you to put drinks on the table, right? Generally, if your parents are young enough, they usually do their own shopping, they do their own meals, that's not exactly, and then where does that leave people who have younger parents, and what are they supposed to be doing for kibbutz? It doesn't really say. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than what it says here. That's a good, point. Now they ask the following question, very big, basic question. Michelle me. Well, you said you have to give him food and drink, and you said you have to give him clothes and covering. So on whose bill? Okay, do you get on your Apple Wallet, your parents' credit cards and go shopping for them on their own bill? Or, do you have to pay from your own money? Is that part of the obligation? Is it a financial obligation, right? There's lots of mitzvot that, by the way, we incur financial expense for, like, okay, we're coming up to Sukkot. It's a huge expensive holiday, right? If you don't have a sukkah, you have to, and need to start from scratch, that's a big expense to buy a sukkah. If you need for the arba minim, that's expensive, right? All this stuff. There's a lot of mitzvot that we actually have to pay for. Is this one of them? Do you have to pay for this mitzvah? Rav Yehuda Amal Michelle Ben. Rav Natan bar Oshaya Amal Michelle Av. So here you go with your two opinions. So Rav Yehuda says it's the son. Rav Natan bar Oshaya says it's the father, okay, or the mother, meaning you don't have to pay out of pocket. And not only that, but Owile Rabbanan Rav Yirmiyah, the rabbis taught Rav Yirmiyah, or Amrila Liberate Rav Yirmiyah, some people say to the son of Rav Yirmiyah, Kimanda Amar Michel Av. It actually, they taught him that it goes Michel Av, and in fact, that's the way we hold. The child does not have to pay the money, okay, for the father. Although there are some situations where they might have to, like if the child has money and the parents don't have money, then there's a debate. It's a very interesting debate whether either which way they're obligated. Are they obligated because of laws of charity? And in laws of charity, if you might recall, there's a law that you're supposed to take care of your own people of your own city before you take care of other people. And therefore, your obligation of charity would basically be on your parents who are the closest to you. Or is it an obligation of kibbud av v'em? And that's a very interesting question. Nafka minas, I'm not sure what the practical ramification would be, but it's an interesting question. It's clear that you're obligated to spend the money on them, but is it midin kibbud av v'em or is it midin stakim? Okay, so now we get to three sources. We basically have this machloket, which is we're going to deal with for the first part of today's class. Who's supposed to pay? Father or son, or child or parent? Now, we had two opinions, and now we're going to bring a contradiction to the opinion that it's Michel Av, that the parent is supposed to pay. It's from their pocket. Meitive, but wait, contradiction. It says in this source, so contradiction to Rav Natan. Ne'emal kaberet avicha v'etimecha, v'ne'emal kaberet Hashem mehonecha. It says respect your father and mother, and it says respect God. What's this word mehonecha? We saw this yesterday. From your wealth, from your money. So God, you're supposed to respect with your money. And it also says the same language by your parents, respect your parents. So ma lahalan b'chesron kis, av kam b'chesron kis. End of source. Just like there, it's a financial loss, meaning you have to pay money out of pocket. Chesron kis means, right, a loss of your pocket. Your pocket is, and in those days, they called a money bag was a kis. So a pocket. So there, it's money out of pocket. Here also, it's money out of pocket. So it sounds like you have to pay. V'iyamar Michel Av. Now, here goes. If you say the father has to pay or the parent has to pay, my nafka le'nina. Well, what kind of financial loss is it if it's all coming from the father's pocket? Libitul melacha. This is interesting. It's to say you have to take money out of pocket, meaning if your parent needs something and you have to leave work, and then not get paid for that work, right? Especially in those days, what does work mean? You're probably selling stuff in the shuk, so you'll sell less things that day because you won't be able to spend that hour in the shuk. You have to leave your job, stop your work, and go help your parent. Okay, now that is a loss. It's not the same as paying money out of pocket, but it is taking a loss. And that's a way to understand that source according to Michel Av. So we resolve the first contradiction. Second source, and this is going to contradict Michel Ben, the other opinion. Tashma, let's learn from here. So again, quoting a Tannaitic source, Shnei achim, two brothers, or Shnei shutafim, or two partners, or ha'avu b'no, that's going to be the only case that we really care about for our purposes, father and son, harav v'talmido, a rabbi and his student, podin ze lezeh ma'aser sheni. These two people, even though they might have some sort of tight connection, they're still considered two separate, this, by the way, isn't relevant yet for us, two separate beings, two separate people, for purposes of redeeming Maaser Sheni. You might remember when you redeem Maaser Sheni, what do? You pay, you have fruits you're supposed to bring to the Jerusalem, you redeem it onto money, you have to add a fifth, but that's only if you're redeeming your own fruits. If you're redeeming someone else's fruits, you don't have to add that extra amount. So any of these people, two brothers, two partners, a father and son, a teacher and his student, they can each redeem the other's maaser sheni. I can take my money and redeem yours. You can take your money, redeem mine. And we don't have to pay the extra. I'm viewed as a separate entity than you for those purposes, even though you may be my parent. Umachilim zeleze maaser ani. Now, on years 3 and 6 of the Shemitah cycle, instead of taking maaser sheni, we give maaser ani. We give to the poor. So I have maaser I have to give to the poor, and my father has maaser he has to give to the poor. He can give to me, and I can give to him. Okay, and likewise, two partners, two brothers, and the Rav and his student. Now, Rabbanit Michelle Ben, if you say that the son, let's say me, I'm obligated, child is obligated to the parent to pay money for their food. So then something doesn't make sense in this source. If you say it's Michelle Ben, I have an obligation upon me to support my parents financially. I also have an obligation upon me to give tithes to the poor people. If I take my tithes to the poor people and give it to my parents, when I'm taking it from the wrong place of my, right? If I look at all my money, so X money is supposed to go to my parents, and the maaser ani money is supposed to go to a poor. How can I possibly pay my father, give him maaser ani to support him when I'm obligated to support him from my own funds, not from my tzedakah funds? Doesn't make any sense. So to which they'll go, and that would then prove it must be that I'm not obligated financially. And that's why if I give my father maaser ani, it works because I'm not financially obligated to feed him with my own money. And then if he doesn't have money, I can give him my charity funds. That would work. So what did they answer? Lo tzricha laha'adafa. Oh no, this is how it works. What is ha'adafa? Extra. Meaning, my father and mother, I need to pay out of pocket my own money, not from my charity money, to give them basic food needs. I've done that. Now I want to take my money from charity and I want to give it to them so they could have a bit of a nicer meal. Now that I can do, right? Nobody ever says you can only give to a poor person who needs basic needs, right? You can give your charity to wherever you want to give it, whether they're the most poor person in the world, not, they have what to eat, they don't have what to eat. You can give them a better, wherever it is raised what they're up to. So then it's not coming out of the same pocket because I already paid them my Michelle Ben, whatever I was obligated to. And now it's just the extra. So that seems to work, except, and then we've explained the contradiction to the Michelle Ben attitude, and we've explained the source. However, but then something doesn't make sense here, something we haven't seen yet. On that source, there was a braita that said, Amar Rav Yehuda, tavo me'era lemisham achil et aviv maaser ani. Even though the halacha says you can do this, cursed is the person who, or a curse will come upon the person who gives his maaser ani to his father, okay, or to his parents, really. So now, ila ha'adafa, if it's just the extra, my nafkamina, again, that same question. Why am I getting cursed? This seems perfectly fine. There's no reason I should be getting cursed for this. Okay, so basically, again, let's read it. So I'm allowed to give my maaser ani to my parents after I've already supported them. Remember, I've supported them from my regular money. Then I want to give them extra. I can give them my maaser ani. Why should I be cursed for doing something like that? To which they answer, afilu hachi zila bamilta. No, it's still an embarrassment. Okay, you have to think about the way the parent feels. And this is also, again, gets to very interesting questions about how to do things. There isn't just the letter of the law, and this is what you're supposed to do, but there's a way to do things. If I support my parents, because I'm obligated to, let's assume we're reading this source with the glasses of Michelle Ben. I'm obligated to support my parents. So I support them with my own money. But then I want to give them more. So I take it from charity funds. Now, how do you think that makes my parents feel? That now, first of all, right, you have to wonder why it's zila milta. It's humiliating for them. What exactly is humiliating is a good question. Not sure. But possibility one is it's humiliating for them to get money that was dedicated to charity and give that to them, right? it's one thing if the parent has no choice but to go and collect from charity. But if their own child is giving them from their child's charity funds, that's humiliating to the parent. It could be, what else did I think about humiliating? Now it eludes me, but you have to think about what exactly is humiliating about it. I think it's also probably humiliating that they feel that number one, it's that they're taking charity funds. That just makes them feel uncomfortable. Number two, right, when I have other money and I can spend other money to give them more and I'm using it from the charity money. Number two, it's also taking away money from other poor people. So it makes them uncomfortable that other poor people aren't being supported because I'm giving my charity money to them. When again, the assumption is I have enough money to give them out of my pocket more money. So, okay, that was source number two. Again, we had a bit of a zigzag. First, we questioned Michelle Av, then we questioned Michelle Ben. Now we're going to question Michelle Av again. Tashma, Shalu et Rabbi Eliezer, Adechan Kibur Aveim. We saw this yesterday. To what extent do you have to do Kibur Aveim? Like, what's the greatest example? Amar Lahem, Kadesh Yitol Arnakiv Yizlekenu Layam Befanav Ve'eno Machlimo. They take your wallet, and or a wallet. Okay, we don't know yet whose wallet. That's going to be part of the issue here. They take a wallet, they throw it in the water in front of you, and you don't respond. Now, we assumed it meant they took my wallet, threw it in the water, and I'm supposed to just sit there quietly. Well, what's the problem with that? Rabbanit Michelle Av, if you say it's Michelle Ben, I have to spend money on this mitzvah, well, that's a different way of spending money. My parents throw it in the sea, and I just have to stand there and not say anything. But if I don't have to spend money, then if they throw my wallet in the sea, I am allowed to react because I don't have to spend money on this mitzvah. It's not just the traditional way of spending money, but lose money on the deal by having them throw my money into the ocean. I don't know, all my money, but a lot of money. But if you say Michelle Av, then what's going on here? They're throwing their own money into the ocean. And I'm supposed to stand there and not say anything. Well, my nafka lemino. What do I care if they're throwing their money into the ocean? That has no effect on me. Well, that's a bit of a strange statement. Of course it does, but we'll get to that in 1 second. Bira oily or show. Right? This is what we always say, right? If your parents spend money on something and you say, why are you spending so much money on that? And they say, stay out of my business, right? What do you always say back? It's my inheritance we're talking about here, right? This is, in the end, it's going to come to me, so it does affect me. So even though I actually don't have to spend my own money, but if you throw your money into the sea and you're my parent and I watch that, that is actually going to affect my future. Again, you have to read the words carefully. Bira oily or show. This case would only be able to be fulfilled by one who is actually in line to inherit from their parents. Not all children inherit from their parents, depending on the situation. Right? For example, in my family, okay, I have 3 brothers. I'm the only girl. And by Torah law, I wouldn't inherit anything. Okay, so if it were me, I wouldn't be able to say anything. Of course, that's nowadays, even then, you can make a will and write your daughter in and all that. But technically, by halachic terms, we're talking about only if someone is going to inherit. And then it obviously affects you. And that's the way to explain that source if you hold Michelle Av. Now, okay, now we're going to see a case that proves that there's this issue of the kids being concerned about the parents wasting the parents' possessions because it affects them ultimately. It's a bit of a roundabout story here about how it shows it, but anyway, we'll see right now. We're going to hear a story about Rav Huna and his son Rabba. Rav Huna kara shirai ba'ampe Rabba bere. Rav Huna took his beautiful silk garments and started tearing them in front of Rabba, his son. Okay, we're going to have a lot of questions on this story. Have no fear. Like, how could he be doing this? Isn't it bal tashchid? Isn't he destroying things? Okay, we'll get to that soon. Why did he do this? Amal, he said, I want to see if I can get him angry at me or not. I want to test my son. See the type that's going to get angry at something like this. Now, this whole premise is built on the fact that if Rav Huna tears his beautiful, expensive clothing, that has effects on his son because his son is supposed to inherit him. Okay, so that was why we brought this story. So we're already kind of done with this, why we brought it. But anyway, we're going to read the story. And the Gemara says, wait, something doesn't jive in this story. Vidil maratach. Well, what if he did get angry? Then Rav Huna would be in trouble. Why? Rabba gets angry, Rabba's in trouble. Rabba got angry, right, at his father and didn't fulfill the mitzvah of kibbud av v'em, or fearing his parent, right, by getting angry at him. But Rav Huna would also created a situation where he would be doing something wrong. Why? Well, you're not allowed to put a stumbling block before a blind person. That basically means, right, you're not supposed to cause someone else to sin, right? Put them in a trap where they might actually sin. There was a 50-50 chance that his son was going to end up, well, we don't know the percentages, but 50-50 chance, let's say, that his son would end up sinning here. And then he was the one who obviously caused it, because the son wouldn't have gotten angry had the father not torn the clothing. So how could he possibly do this? To which they answered, he was mochel on his kavod. This means he said, I don't care. I won't care if he gets angry at me. I'm really just curious to see what he does. If he really gets angry at me, I won't take it seriously. Okay. First of all, I know I caused it. It won't bother me. If it doesn't bother him, and that's what we're going to see later, if a parent says, I don't care if you sit in my seat, I don't care if you don't feed me, I don't care if you this, then it's fine, right? Which is why we're not obligated every night to bring our parents dinner, because our parents generally don't care that their kids bring them dinner every night. But what about the fact that he was destroying clothing? That's not allowed. He just did it on the seam. Okay, well, if he did it on the seam, maybe that's why his son didn't get angry. You get to hear, by the way, that the son didn't fall into the trap. But maybe that's why he didn't get angry, because it was fixable. Why should he get angry if his father tore something on the seam? Okay, so you sew it up. This is a very interesting answer. So he must have been angry about something else. Now, if you're angry about something else, what happens? We all know that when you're in a mood, right, any little thing might bother you. So this could mean one of two things. Either, even though it was on the seam, it might still bother him, because even that is just a headache. Now, he'll probably bother the son to go sew it up and fix it, and the son doesn't want to do that. He'd rather be playing ball with his friends. Or alternatively, it could be that he wouldn't know. When you're angry, you don't notice things. So you don't look carefully. You just see something and you immediately get angry. And he won't notice that it was ripped specifically on the seam, and he'll think that it was just ripped, in a place, a way that couldn't be fixed. Either way, now we explained all the issues, and that was all just to show us that Rav Huna, by tearing his clothes, wanted to see if his son would get upset, because his son was going to inherit him. So even if it was his own stuff, it would still potentially get his son angry. Another story, and this has to do with how you should speak to your parents, especially if you need to correct them in some way. The scene is that Rav Yechezkel is teaching his son Rami, okay, but he happens to have another son who's going to pipe in. That son is Rav Yehuda, the famous Rav Yehuda that we always see in the Gemara, who quotes Shmuel all the time, who quotes Rav all the time. So Rav Yechezkel is teaching his son Ram. Hanisrafim baniskalim. If you have a case, it's totally off topic. You have a case where there are a bunch of people who are supposed to get the death penalty of sreifa, of burning. And then you have a whole bunch of people who are supposed to get the death penalty of skila, stoning. And the ones who are supposed to get sreifa, burning, get mixed up with the ones who are supposed to get skila. And this is classic law of ta'arovet, a mixture. Usually it's food that gets mixed up together, chulin and truma or something like that. This is humans get mixed up together, and we don't know who's supposed to get which punishment. Now, the assumption of this whole sugya is, if it says nisrafim baniskalim, it means that there was a big group of people with skila, and a few people who were supposed to get sreifa got mixed in. So the majority are skila, stoning. So what are we supposed to do with them? Do they get skila or do they get sreifa? They're all going to end up getting one punishment, because we don't know which one. We have to choose. Rabbi Shimon omer gidonu b'skila. They're supposed to get skila. Why? Shasreifa chamura. Okay, there's a whole big debate. We'll get to this in Sanhedrin. What's the order of the mitot in terms of the severity? We actually don't hold by Rabbi Shimon, but Rabbi Shimon holds that sreifa is a harsher punishment. And therefore, we're not going to make people get a harsher punishment than they're deserving of. So we'll go with the lower one, which is skila. Amarle Rav Yehuda Berei. So Rav Yehuda hears his father Rav Yechezkel teaching this, and he says, Abba, lo tignei hachi, you have the wrong girsa here. Don't read the Braita like that, because your Braita, the way you said this makes no sense. Now, this is the main line that's going to bother us, what we already said, which is, that's not a way to speak to your father and say, hey, you got the wrong girsa, don't say that. My area, now why is it wrong? And now we'll just get into the sugya here, which is not really why we're bringing this, but you'll see the whole issue. My area is sreifa chamura. Typically, the ruben iskalin. It should go by majority. It shouldn't be because sreifa is stricter and that's why you get stoned. It's because the majority of the people are stoned. And in addition, stoning isn't stricter than streifa. But the real issue is why, if your case is streifa, a few people, 2 people who get skila fall into a group of 10 people who gets, 2 people with streifa fall into a group of 10 people who get skila, you're obviously going to give them all skila because the majority is skila, and there's no reason not to give them skila. You must have the Braita wrong. The Braita must have read haniskalim b'nisrafim. The reason why Rabbi Shimon has to say it's because streifa is stricter, that they get skila, must be that the case is it was 2 people who were supposed to get stoned who get mixed up in a big group of people who are getting streifa, where you would think to give them streifa, but you can't because streifa is more strict, and therefore you go down to skila. And that must be what's going on. To which the father responds and says, instead of getting angry and saying, don't speak to me that way, which he should have, but he answers him back halachically, or from a content perspective. But according to your reading, if the majority are people who are supposed to get burned, and they're going to get skila anyway, because skila is the lesser punishment, and that's Rabbi Shimon's chiddush. Well, what about the seifa? Ema seifa. Look at the end of that source. The rabbis say they get streifa because skila is actually more strict, right? That's the more difficult one, and therefore they get it. Now, according to what you're saying, my area de skila chamura, the rabbis didn't. He's going to basically throw the question back on his son. This line now doesn't make any sense because the rabbi said it's because skila is more strict. But typically, the Ruben Nisrafindinu. According to the rabbis, why do they get streifa? Not because skila is more strict, but because the majority are nisrafim. According to your version, the rabbis make no sense. To which he says, Amar Lei, no. The rabbis point out the skila is chamura because they're disagreeing with Rabbi Shimon. In other words, again, the case is the majority are people who are supposed to be burned, but they're not going to be burned according to Rabbi Shimon because burning is much more strict than skila, than stoning. So they're going to get stoning. To which the rabbis say they're going to get streifa because the majority are streifa. And to what you said, that's streifa is more strict, and that's why not. I disagree with you. Skila is more strict, and that's why you can go back to the default, which is the majority, which is streifa, and that's how he reads them. Okay, so here we're going to read it inside. So Rabbanit are responding to Rabbi Shimon, and they're saying to Kamarta streifa chamura, lo skila chamura. Okay, so you think streifa is chamur? No, I think skila is chamur, the rabbis say, and that's why you can give them, right? That's why we're going to go with streifa. Really, it's because of the majority. And you don't have the problem, this streifa is chamura, because I don't agree with you about that. And that's how the son explains the Braita according to his reading. But now, instead of his father reprimanding him, comes Shmuel, his rabbi, and reprimands him. Amar le Shmuel le Rav Yehuda. Shinana. Okay, shinana is a term that we've seen a bunch of times. Shmuel uses it specifically for Rav Yehuda. It has to do possibly with teeth. You're so sharp like teeth, or it's unclear whether this is a positive or a negative. You could say in this case, maybe it proves it's negative because he's not so pleased with Rav Yehuda right now. He says, or he's using a term of endearment to rebuke him. It's another way of saying it. Lo tema leila avuchachi. Don't speak to your father like that. Titania, because here's a Braita that explains what you're supposed to do. Let's say you see your parent going against something it says in the Torah. Don't say, Father, you did something against what the Torah says. Say, Abba, it says in the Torah, blah, blah, blah. That's not a good way to say it either. They ask about this Braita. That also, it's basically the same thing. It doesn't sound so nice. You say to him like this, Abba, there's a pasuk that says like this in the Torah, and then you kind of quote the pasuk and hope that he figures it out. Okay, and that's how you have to be very careful how you speak to your parent when there might be a need to rebuke them, but you have to be very careful, and that's why he basically said to Rav Yehuda, it wasn't appropriate the way you spoke to your father. Moving on to another topic within Kibud Avim, Elazar ben Matya Omer, Abba Omer Hashkeni Mayim, Umitzvah Lasa. What if you have a conflict? Your father tells you, I need some water, and you have a mitzvah to do at that exact same moment. Somebody needs you for a mitzvah, okay? And what do? I put aside kibud av and I go do the mitzvah. Why? Because both me and my father are obligated in the mitzvah, and therefore that must take precedence. Isi ben Yehuda Omer, he says, well, If there's a way that someone else can do the mitzvah for you, and it depends what kind of mitzvah it is. Obviously, we're talking about a mitzvah that's not incumbent upon every person to do. But let's say there's a poor person that needs charity, and if you go, right, someone's knocking at the door for charity, and at the same moment your father wants a cup of water, what do? So if someone else can get the door and give the tzedakah, then great, and you deal with the father. If not, then you can leave your father, because he's also commanded to give the charity to the poor. And Amar Rav Natan halacha ki isi ben Yehuda. Okay, Rav Natan says the halacha is like isi ben Yehuda. Now they don't say this, but it would obviously be again if the mitzvah can be done later, like you're supposed to daven, but there's still more time in the day to daven. So go to your father and then go daven. Right? We must be talking about something where there's a conflict right now. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Shila, Amar Rav Natan, Amar Rav Chisda, and here we now get into this list of who can say they're mochel on their kavod, which means say it's okay if you don't respect me the way you're supposed to. So ha'av shemachala kvodo kvodo machul. If a parent says, you can sit in my chair, I don't care, then you're allowed to. Harav shemachala kvodo ein kvodo machul. We're going to have a hierarchy, but a rabbi is not allowed to do that. Why is that? A rabbi is a representative of God. So it goes like this. A rabbi represents Torah and Torah represents God. So a rabbi is like a representative of God. It's not up to him. His kavod has nothing to do with a father or a mother. Their respect has to do with their relationship with their child. But a rabbi it's not his own. He's not reflected. He's not a representative of himself. He's a representative of something much bigger. To which the Gemara says, there's a machloket about this. So the Rav Chisda says, it doesn't work. Rav Yosef Amar, the rabbi has no problem with it, right? Sometimes a rabbi walks into a room, everybody stands up. Sometimes they don't, right? Part of it is that we've changed in our time, and not everybody views that as such a necessity. And part of it is because the rabbis don't necessarily feel like they need you to stand up for them. Again, it really depends on the community. All of this is very societally based. But anyway, so if the rabbi doesn't care if you stand up for them, then you don't have to do it when they walk into the room. So now, how do we know this? Rav Yosef says, in the desert, what happened? God walked before, guiding the Jewish people, right, with the Anan, with the cloud. Now, that's basically God saying, I'm serving you instead of you serving me. So and we're going to see this in a lot of stories with rabbis, of rabbis serving food to other people and showing that they're willing to be mochel on their kavod. So if God himself can do it, then the rabbi who represents God can do it. To which, not exactly, Amarava, Haki Ashta, what you're comparing, it's not a fair comparison. Hatam, Hakadosh Baruch Hu Ba'al Madilehu, V'Torah Dilehu. The world is God's, and the Torah is God's. Machele Yikare. So he can decide or God can decide to basically say it's okay. But on his own. Hacha Torah Dilehu. But moving now to Amud Bet, this rabbi, the Torah is not his. He can't decide about it. It's God's. When God decided, I'm going to go in front of the Jewish people in the desert, that was God's decision. But here we have a rabbi deciding about when God would think it was okay. It's not his to decide. To which, Hadran Rava says, no, actually, in Torah Dilehi. No, we actually have a source that shows that the Torah becomes his. And that means that the Rav represents almost like his own Torah, and he can decide. It's a very fascinating line, something to think about. Dichtiv u'b'torato yehegeh yomam v'layla. It says, and on his Torah, he will learn day and night. It becomes his own Torah, and then he actually can decide. So we have this debate about whether a Rav Shemachala Kvodo Machul or not, between Rav Chisda and Rav Yosef. So now we're up to explaining, right? Rav seems to say, you can be mochel on your kavod. Ini, is that really true? Vaha Rava. Now we have a story about Rava, and we're going to see, apparently it was a custom that at people's sons' weddings, they would be the ones to go around pouring the wine. Mashke behilula de bere, he was giving everyone the wine. Vidale kasa le Rav Papa le Rav Huna bered Rav Yoshua. He gave wine to Rav Papa and Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yoshua. Vikamu mikame, and as he gave them the wine, which basically showed he didn't really care so much because he was doing the serving instead of having someone else serve. He was kind of lowering himself to serve. Well, but they stood up in respect. Rav Meri, Rav Pinchas bered Rav Chisda velo kamu mikame, and then he gave to these other two rabbis, and they didn't stand up before him. Ikpid, and he got very angry at them. Okay, he said, "What is this? You don't stand up for me." Now, here it's interesting because he, to a certain extent, lowered himself by serving. On the other hand, he demanded respect from them that they stand up for him. So you see that you really can't be mochel on your kavod entirely, because otherwise he wouldn't have gotten angry at them. And ve'amal, and then he said the following statement, which could be understood as a rhetorical statement or maybe an actual statement. I'll just read it in one way because I want to get through to the end of the daf today. But you can see there's other interpretations. Hanu Rabbanan, v'hanu Rabbanan lo. Hanu Rabbanan, Rabbanan. These rabbis are rabbis. V'hanu Rabbanan, lav Rabbanan, and these rabbis are not rabbis. Okay, it could be it was rhetorical, saying what you think you're in a different place than those rabbis. You think you're rabbis, and you think they're not rabbis. Like what are you doing? Vitu, and another story like that. Rav Papa, Havamashke behilula da'abamar bere. Rav Papa was giving wine out to people at his son Abamar's wedding. Vidale lekasa Rav Yitzchak bered Rav Yehuda, and he gave wine to Rav Yitzchak, the son of Rav Yehuda. V'lo kami kamen, he didn't stand up for him. Ve'ikpid, and he got angry. So what did they say? Afilu hachi hidur ma'avid lebao. In other words, still. You could still have that a Rav could be mochel in his kavod, but people still need to show him a certain amount of respect. Okay, so if the other issue is maybe they can't even accept the wine from him, right? But they can accept the wine, but they still have to show him a certain amount of respect. Amar Rav Ashi, afilu lamanda amal harav shemachalak kvodo kvodo machul, going up to this through this hierarchy now. So we said a parent is allowed to be mochel, no problem. A Rav, there's a debate. But even if you say that a Rav can be mochel on their kavod and say, it's okay that you don't respect me, nasi shemachala kvodo ein kvodo machul. But if you're a nasi, the nasi in those days, that was Rabban Gamliel and the whole sholshelet of Rabban Gamliel, they were all nasiim, where they were both Talmidei Chachamim and kind of had a more political position. They are not allowed to, ein kvodo machul, to which they say, again, we're going to bring a contradiction, meitibeh. And again, a very similar story. Told you Rabban Gamliel was the nasi. They were at the wedding of his son. And he was giving out the drinks. Here, Rabbi Eliezer says, I'm not even taking the cup. Forget about getting up for him. I'm not taking a cup from him. He can't serve me. This is similar to the question that child asked yesterday. What if I get home from the Beit Midrash and my parents want to serve me stuff? Am I allowed to take from them? Right? That's not respect. Nitanol Rabbi Yoshua, interesting, Rabbi Yoshua and Rabban Gamliel, who always got it right. Rabban Gamliel was very authoritative and embarrassed, humiliated Rabbi Yoshua in all sorts of situations. And here Rabbi Yoshua specifically takes it from him. Vikiblo, and he accepted. Amarlo Rabbi Eliezer, Maza Yoshua, Anu Yoshvim Rabban Gamliel Omedo Mashkalenu. How could you possibly take this wine? We're sitting here, Rabban Gamliel is serving us, not appropriate. Amarle, Rabbi Yoshua says to him, Matzinu Gadol Mimenu Shashimesh. I have an example of someone even greater than Rabban Gamliel who served and people took. Avraham Gadol Adoraya, none other than Avram Avinu, who was a great leader. V'katubo v'hu omer alehem. Remember when the angels come to him, and he thought he didn't realize they were angels. We'll see that in a minute. But they come to him, and he stands and serves them. So here you see, and they accepted it. So you see, it's okay. If you say, well, he thought it was okay that he could serve them because he thought that they were angels. We know that they just look like Arab merchants walking by, and he had no idea that they were angels. And yet he went and served him himself and didn't have his, he had a slew of workers in his house that could have served them, but he did it himself. So Rabbi Shua says, so what's wrong if Rabban Gamliel is serving us? Amar lahem Rabbi Tzadok. In comes the third person. Okay, so this was just between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Tzadok comes and says, what kind of example you're bringing from humans? I can show you an example from God. So he basically wants to strengthen Rabbi Yeshua's position, but say, I can give you an even better proof. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and here's a good line. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mashiv ruchot u'ma'aleh nesiim u'morid matar u'mitzmiach adama v'orech shulchan l'fnei kol echad ve'echad. On a daily basis, God is doing things for us. Okay, He makes the winds go and brings the rains and makes everything grow and sets up food for all of us every day. God is ever present in our world doing things for us all the time. And you're going to say, we won't take Rabban Gamliel, but we'll accept everything that God gives us. So, right, this is like saying, go look at the hand of God in every day of your life, right, in every action you do. And therefore, there can't really be a problem with this. So, so it must be that this is what he said. From this story, we see that clearly a nasi can be mochel on his kavod because Rabban Gamliel did it, and in the end, the rabbi said you can accept it from him. So, by the way, this thing, kvodo machul, means it actually is canceled, right? It's nullified. You don't need it. You don't need to show any respect. But when he said, even if you say the rabbi, not the nasi, now we're going to say, even if you say the rabbi and the nasi can renege on their respect, but melech shamachalak kvodo in kvodo machul. But when it comes to a king, they absolutely cannot. Why is that? For a separate reason. Shneimar som tasim alecha melech shetehei emato alecha. When it says som tasim alecha melech, they learn from here that his fear has to be upon the people. If the king doesn't have absolute authority, it's going to create pandemonium in the country. Okay? Unfortunately, we have that going on in Israel right now, right? A matter of who has the ultimate authority. It's all about having an authority that people have respect for. And, every side is basically claiming that one side, we don't want to accept their authority. We don't want to accept their authority. And it creates pandemonium in the country, which is what's going on right now. If there can't be any better proof than that. So they said you have to have a king who people fear, and therefore the king can never renege on their respect. Okay, now we're going to finish up with a very interesting topic of, if we're already on respecting, now we have to respect your elders. Okay, right? Like getting up on a bus, letting them sit, all sorts of things. We'll see some of the laws and we'll see exactly who does this apply to. We say the word elders in the Torah, it actually has a lot of different connotations. We'll see a three-way debate about who's included. So the pasuk says, Mipnei seva takum, for an elder person, you should get up. V'hadarta pnei zaken, and you should show respect to the face of a zaken. That seems to be the same thing twice, but one calls him a seva, one calls him zaken. We're going to see Drashot on this. And then it says, V'yaretam Elohecha ani Hashem, and you should fear your God. I am your God. What that has to do with anything, we'll have to figure out. So we're going to start with two opinions, and then we'll get to a third soon. You might think from a zaken who is shamai. We don't know what a shamai is. Some people say it means who's just a simple zaken, meaning he's not a Talmid Chacham, he's not a knowledgeable Torah scholar, or it could mean a evil person. Some people say no ways that mean an evil person. No one thinks you have to get up for an elderly evil person. And again, there's a debate exactly what we're asking about. You might have thought even zaken shamai, Talmud lomar zaken, ve'en zaken ela chacham, because it says seva. You might have thought elderly, and any elderly person. Now we learn no, it really means zaken who is knowledgeable, a Torah scholar. That's the kind of respect mentioned in the Torah. It doesn't mean you shouldn't get up on a bus for any elderly person, but the Torah commandment, according to this first opinion, is specifically if it seems like there is zaken and they're knowledgeable. Like from seva, you learn elderly. From zaken, you learn elderly who is wise, who is a Torah scholar. Shneimar, by the way, it just says chacham, but we assume chacham means Talmid Chacham and not like chacham in other areas, like a very wise person in life in some other area, like math or I don't know what. So now, how do we get this? How do you know zaken is chacham? Because it says Israel, right? Moshe is supposed to gather these 70, right? They say Moshe says, "Gather me 70 people from the Skinim," and there he obviously means the Talmidei Chachamim to help him rule. Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer, "Ein zaken ela mi shekana chochma." Forget this gzera shava. Zaken is someone who acquired wisdom. Shneimar Hashem kanani reshit darko. Okay, what the difference between him and right there it says Hashem kanani reshit darko. Actually, how does he get it from this? Kadam falav me'as. I'm not sure how he gets from there to zaken. I have to look that up after. Okay. Anyway, now what the difference between him and Tanakama is, we'll get to soon. Now we get into laws. Maybe even if you're really far away, okay, what are the ways you respect is by standing up. Maybe you have to stand up out of respect, even if you're really far away. Talmud lomar takum v'hadarta, because it says pnei seva takum v'hadarta, even though there's a break in between them in the verse, but put those two words together, get up and show respect. Well, by getting up, you don't have to spend any money. So also by hidur, you don't have to spend any money. So, I skipped a line. Sorry. Talmud lomar takum v'hadarta lo amarti kima ela b'makom sheyesh hidur. Kima, we're going to do two drashot on this, kima and v'hadarta. You only have to stand up. Takum is to get up, right? It says it in the pasuk, only when there's hidur. Now, it doesn't look nice if you're all the way far away and they're all the way there. Nobody even realizes you're standing up for them, and therefore that's irrelevant. So you don't have to do that. You might think you have to spend money. Just like getting up, you don't have to spend any money by standing up. So the respect you have to give them is not spending money. Again, the same question we asked before. Let's say you go into the bathroom and there's an elderly, respectful person there. You're supposed to get up in the bathroom? No. Talmud a third drasha on the juxtaposition of those words. There's no hidor in the bathroom. So you don't have to do it in the bathroom. Maybe only if you see them. But what if I just close my eyes and pretend I don't see them, right? You see someone coming and you're like, okay, I'm just going to turn my face. They won't know that I didn't see them. No. Now we do the juxtaposition of Pnei Zaken, right? Yes. Takum isn't exactly next to V'yareta, but the point is in that pasuk, it says V'yareta. So you have to stand up and fear God. Don't ignore them because God knows you're ignoring them. Anytime it says Yareta Melohecha, it's because there's something that you can maybe hide, from other people, but because it's in your heart, God knows it. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, now we get to the Yareta also applies to the Zaken. How do we know this? Zaken v'Yareta. Because the word Zaken appears juxtaposed to the word v'Yareta, the fear of God is also in the Zaken. That means the Zaken shouldn't walk into a place. If there's two ways to go, don't walk into the place which is fully populated and you're going to make all these people stand up for you. Take the path that is causing less bother to people. Third opinion in this Braita, going back to the beginning. Who does this apply? Any elderly person at all. So now he clearly has the broadest definition, or sort of, you'll see, is either all elderly people. Rabbi Yossi Aglili Hainu Tanakama. Well, they seem to say the same thing, where they said, was it elderly? And then they said, no, elder is chacham. Well, Ika beinayu yanik v'chaki. Someone who's young and wise. Do you have to respect him? Tanakama savar yanik v'chakim lo, because Tanakama said seva means old, zaken means wise. Combination of the two, they have to be wise and elderly, right? Whereas Rabbi Isi ben Yehuda said just wise, and now we're going to see that. Just elderly, and now we're going to see Rabbi Yosef Glili said just wise. Rabbi Yosef Glili savar afilu yanik v'chakim. Just being a Talmid Chacham is enough. All these laws apply to you. You don't have to be elderly. Okay, so they each kind of include things that the other one doesn't. So that's where we have these three opinions. So we're going to start with my Talmid Rabbi Yossi Aglili. What's the reason for his opinion? Amar lacha isa kadata kadamar tanakama, that it has to be wise and elderly and not just wise. It should have said an elderly wise person, but it doesn't say that, so Tanakama must be wrong. Why did it split it? Tell you there's two different things. There's Talmid Chacham exclusively, and there's elderly exclusively. So Rabbi Yosef Glili will say the Zaken is specifically an elderly wise, specifically a wise person, not having to do with age, and Seva is to do with age. So from there you can learn even if they're young and wise. Tanakama, last line here. What would they respond to him? Why did they split Zaken and Yaret? Why did they split Zaken and Seva? To teach you that you have to, it's because they wanted Zaken to go with Yareta to teach you that law that the Zaken himself has to fear God and not put other people in a difficult position. And therefore, you can't learn what Rabbi Yosef Glili tried to learn from the position in the pasuk. Okay, so quick review of today. Again, another long daf, but very interesting, very basic issues. What is mo'ah? What is kibud? Do you have to spend money on your father and mother to do kibud ava'im? Is it Michel Av or Michel Ben? We, in the end, said it's really the father's money, unless, of course, they have no money, and then either midin staka or midin kibud ava'im. Then we had how you speak to your parents. You have to be careful, even if you're going to correct them, how you're going to correct them. That related more to the yirah and the lo soter tvarav and how to do it. Then we had the whole issue. Can you say, I don't really care, you don't have to respect me? We did father, we did parent, we did rabbi, we did nasi, a leader, or also a king. And the king was where we said absolutely not. The others, it was a subject of debate. And then we went from there to Hadarta Pnei Zaken, and what is Zaken, what is Seva, who's included in this mitzvah. That will finish for today, and we'll continue more tomorrow in the issue of the Zaken and what the proof of Tanakama is for his opinion. Wishing everybody a great day.